Welcome, everyone. I'm Alfred Lambremont Webre, and today we have the great privilege and the great pleasure to have the official Venus historian with us, Dr. Raymond Keller, PhD. Welcome, Ray.
Thank you, Alfred. It's a pleasure to be here and share this information with you and your audience.
Now, I understand that today we have a two-part program. We'll be having part one today, and then we'll having part two in a subsequent interview. What is the program that you'll be sharing with us today?
Today is the wisdom of the ages. This is information that was impressed upon me immediately upon my return from Venus and starting to write the Venus Rising: A Concise History of the Second Planet, in a series of presentations that I did with the Coast to Coast radio AM discussion groups in Cleveland.
Oh, my Lord. So this will be extraordinary, interesting, and new information for our audience. So,
Yes, I've only showed it to just the local group in Cleveland while I was beginning to write the Venus Rising, and it more or less presents the spiritual aspects of life on Venus and our celestial neighbors. And whereas the first one that we looked at was the contactees, this one is more esoteric and deals more, as Rob Potter would say, more with the angelic aspects rather than the silver spaceships and spacesuits.
very interesting. Very interesting. Well, I we'll just say you can share screen, and we'll be looking forward to part one of this consummately interesting presentation.
Thank you. So this is going to be, let's see, we want slideshow from the current slide. Okay, this is Wisdom of the Ages, Contemplations of the Spirit. This was prepared in 2013, but the information is as irrelevant as it always has been, going back through Virgil, St. Paul, Dante, Emanuel Swedenborg, Helena Blavotsky, all the way to the current age.
Amazing.
So as cosmic citizens, let us keep in mind the following principles. We are here to form a nucleus of the universal brotherhood of humankind without distinction of race, creed, sex, caste, or color. We're here to encourage the study of comparative religion, philosophy, and science, and we're here to investigate the unexplained laws of nature and the powers latent in humankind, no matter where it leads, onward to knowledge and adventure. So each individual is connected to a higher self. And some might call it a guardian angel or an oversoul. So your higher self or your oversoul is the higher aspect of your personality that dwells on a celestial sphere. So when connected to your higher self, you therefore allow yourself to manifest beauty, goodness, and truth on Earth's material plane. Here's a quotation from St. Paul to the Philippians. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. So long before Norman Vincent Peale and the power of positive thinking, we have this idea expressed by Paul in his letter to the Philippians in the New Testament. So beauty, here's journalist Pete Hamill, who visited Sophia Loren, who just turned 90 years old recently, in Naples on the set of Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow, wrote, her nose is too large, her chin too small, her feet are the biggest of any movie queen since Greta Garbo. But head her in the direction of a camera, set her Etruscan eyes dancing, and Sophia is one of the most magnificent women in the world. So no matter what we look on the outside, if our spirit is emanating love and truth and beauty, then that's what we will take on, that kind of visage to the world at large. So we'll emanate our own light. So you see when you look at pictures with the Bible characters or saints, they all have, halos and emanations of light around them. This is a real thing. This is an angelic quality. And then goodness. The simplest acts of kindness are far more powerful than thousands of heads bowing in prayer. That's what Mahatma Gandhi said. Mahatma is the Indian word for a teacher. So besides being a political leader, we all recognize Gandhi was a great leader and teacher. And then truth. So, when we have a religion, the truth doesn't stop at the articles of faith of whatever doctrinal creed that religion happens to have, because truth is everywhere to be found, because even the universe testifies to the truth of God and his creation. So now that we established that we do have an oversoul, we listen to the call. So come with us, and we will show you a way out that shall not only be an issue from your prison, but also a pathway to your home. Here's Peter being freed from prison by an angel, and you could read that story in Acts chapter 12, Acts of the Apostles, verses 5 through 17. And this is a quote from Miss Underwood in 1911, talking about being in contact with your higher self. She wrote many books and articles about mysticism, mystics and mysticism. So you are a child of the Father of lights. True, you are immersed fold upon fold in the world of becoming. Worse, you are besieged on all sides by persistent illusions of sensuality. But you too are a child of the Absolute. You bear within you the earnest of your inheritance. Here's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are being protected by the angel of the Lord in the fiery furnace of King Nebuchadnezzar. That's in Daniel chapters 1 through 3, that you could read that story. So we want to open the door. At the apex of your spirit, there is a little door so high up that only by hard climbing can you reach it. There, the object of your craving stands and knocks. Thence came those persistent messages, faint echoes from the truth, eternally hammering at your gates, which disturb the comfortable life of sense. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him. That's Jesus' promise to everyone. That's in Revelation chapter 3, verse 20. So we may step away from the Lord, but he's always searching for us. That's the important thing. So we want to step up to a higher vibration. Come up then by this pathway to those higher levels of reality to which in virtue of the eternal spark in you, you belong. Leave your ignoble ease, your clever prattle, your absurd attempts to solve the apparent contradictions of a whole too great for your useful mind to grasp. And so it's talking about higher levels of reality. And we know that there's a spiritual principle we learn through esoteric teachings and theosophy and so forth. We know that as above, so below. And physicists have recently been experimenting with the superimposition of particles. So we know that every particle can be considered as either matter or energy, and that what affects one particle can affect even another particle at the end of the known universe. So we know that there are definitely higher levels of reality, and they could be reached in a higher vibrational state. This is all really in physics. This has been proven, this kind of thing. So it's not just something of imagination. So we have the power to reinvent ourselves. Trust your deep instincts. Use your latent powers. Appropriate that divine creative life, which is the very substance of your being. Remake yourself in its interest, if you would know its beauty and truth. These are all quotes from Miss Underwood. You can only behold that which you are. Only the real can know reality. So that was Evelyn Underhill in her book, Mysticism, New York, P. Dutton Publishers, 1911, pages 50 through 51 is where those quotations come from. So I recommend that book. It's a very thick book, but you will learn so much that applies to other levels of reality, other worlds beyond our five senses, beyond our sight and hearing, that really exist out there. Another person, a mystic that I really like a lot, and I was impressed to read his book from cover to cover, was Paramahansa Yogananda's Autobiography of a Yogi. That was published by the Self-Realization Fellowship in California in 1946. So Paramahansa Yogananda was born in India in 1893 and died in Los Angeles in 1952. He was a yogi who introduced millions of Westerners to the teachings and meditation in Kriya Yoga in his autobiography and other writings. Now, Kriya is a yogic technique originally taught by Lahiri Mayasaya, whereby that was his mentor and teacher, whereby the sensory tumult is stilled, permitting the seeker to achieve an ever-increasing identity with cosmic consciousness. Basically, it's a technique where you're breathing in and out at the same time. I can't explain it, but I used it one time when I was at the VA hospital, and they were taking my blood pressure, and it was real high. And I said, do it again, do it again. And then I just used some Kriya Yoga technique, and I brought it down to perfect. I dropped it like 40 points, and the nurse couldn't believe it. but it really works. So in leaving the terrestrial plane, in his youth, while visiting the grave of his master, Lahiri Mayasaya, Paramahansa Yogananda experienced a vision of his master who told him, "Why come to view my flesh and bones when I am ever within range of your kutashta, or spiritual sight?" And I found this to be true when I met an ascended master with our Osiris UFO group when we made a trek to Mount Chasta in 1987, and then Lady Ankara opened our eyes to look up to the sides of the mountain, and we saw these large mantids going up and down the ridge of the mountain, looking with spiritual sight to another planet that was far away in the Sirius star system. So our spiritual guides, they are never far from us. In Matthew chapter 28, verses 19 through 20, we find Saul's conversion on the road to Damascus. And this was that's in the book of Acts, chapter 9, verses 1 through 31. But Paul, after that, went on to join the other apostles, and their commission was in Matthew 28, verses 19 through 20. "Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world." Which, at the way things are going, will probably be in not probably coming soon. Okay, so in Paramahansa Yogananda's autobiography on page 12, he wrote, "Oblivious of the poor lures of the earth's material plane, he was fully awake at all times to the spiritual problems of seekers who approached for his bounty." So this is what happens when you have this higher state of consciousness. You become more empathic, more aware of other people's needs, putting them before your own. And that's the first step toward spiritual growth and enlightenment. The Dalai Lama has said that today, more than ever before, life must be characterized by a sense of universal responsibility, not only nation to nation and human to human, but also human to other forms of life. This is very important. A lot of people don't realize, we have pets. Yeah, that's good. We treat the pets well enough. But all the other animals and forms of life that share this planet with them, the Native American peoples, every tribe, every tribal group, every First Nation people, they regard the other forms of life on an equal status with people, and so do extraterrestrials. They respect the spark of life, the spark of the Creator in all creatures, great and small. In the Western world, we used to have that same kind of philosophy before we got into the industrial age and then wrapped up in all this technology. The prayer of St. Francis, "Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. And where there is despair, hope. And where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy." And, St. Francis was well noted for his kindness to the animals and setting a good example of how we should treat the fellow beings that share this planet with us, because if we ever hope to become a part of a greater galactic community, we're going to have to change a lot of our ways, especially with how we treat the environment and the other creatures that share this world with us. So that's an important message from the Venusians and the extraterrestrials generally. Then these are different avatars and their messages for us. Helen Keller, 1880 through 1968, said, "The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart." So we're talking about empathy again here. So Helen Keller was an American author, political activist, and also a theosophist. I don't know if many people know that. Helena Blavotsky, the co-founder of the Theosophical Society, said, "The path that leadeth on is lighted by one fire, the light of daring burning in the heart. The more one dares, the more one shall obtain." In other words, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And then this lady here is a Chinese goddess of sailors. Mazu Tianhao is a Buddhist and Taoist goddess of sailors. She is a patron of the sea and those in distress. In the latter capacity, she is linked with the goddess Guan Yin. Tianhao also helps the conception, and in the case of serious drought. Kublai Khan titled her the Queen of Heaven, and later she was elevated to the position of Empress of Heaven. She started out in the 10th century in a human form in the Fujian province of China, according to legend. Because she didn't cry, she was named Lin, family name Monyang, for her silence. She is credited with the miraculous saving of her brothers and others from the sea. So her connection with Venus is explored in my book, in the last chapter of my book, Venus Rising, A Concise History of the Second Planet. Then we have Mary as the Lady of Guadalupe and also in other apparitions. But this is what she said to a Mexican farm worker back in 1531. "Let not your heart be disturbed. Am I not here? Who is your mother? Are you not under my protection? Am I not your health? Are you not happily within my fold? What else do you wish? Do not grieve nor be disturbed by anything." And then Jesus himself, "A new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another." That's in John 13, verse 34. So Jesus is the Good Shepherd. Then when we look to the Sufi traditions, back in the 13th century, Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Rumi said, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." So we become hardened, really, by life in the material world. And, unless we can become as little children and open our hearts and minds to a higher reality and to the presence of angels and spiritual forces around us, we won't be able to appreciate and access that quality of love that's within us and within everybody else. So good advice from Rumi. Okay, then we have the Mormon prophet Joseph Smith. He said, "I teach them correct principles and they govern themselves." He said that in Missouri on the 6th of May, 1834. And that was amid a lot of persecution too. Okay, Annalise Scarin. She's a metaphysician, a seeress who wrote 9 books about getting into heaven through the front door through a process of translation, where you're taken up bodily into heaven, just like Enoch. So she said, no two lives are alike, yet each life holds a divine pattern of unfoldment, a great and holy destiny, rich in achievement and honor. As you live true to the pattern of yourself, that deep inner self, you will unfold as perfect, as joyous, as naturally beautiful as the tree will reach its measure of fulfillment, thereby to fulfill your own measure of creation. No one can keep you from reaching your highest destiny if you will follow your own true pattern of life. And that was in her second book called Ye Are Gods, published in 1952. Originally, she self-published her books, and at first, before she translated, nobody really appreciated her, but now her books are very well known and well sought after. They're published by Divorce and Company in Camarillo, California. Then I would say that a lot of religious leaders are associated with the lands and people of different places throughout the world, and you can't really separate the land from their message. Hale Salasi was from Ethiopia, and so he was a descendant of from the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon. And of course, in Jamaica, we have the Rastafarians, and they follow him as well. And he said that the temple of the Most High begins with the body, which houses our life, the essence of our existence. Africans are in bondage today because they approach spirituality through religion provided by foreign invaders and conquerors. We must stop confusing religion and spirituality. Religion is just a set of rules, regulations, and rituals that are created by humans, which was supposed to help people grow spiritually. Due to human perfection, religion has become corrupt, political, divisive, and a tool for power struggles. Spirituality is not theology or ideology. It is simply a way of life, pure and original, as was given by the Most High of creation. Spirituality is a network linking us to the Most High, the universe, and each other. That's why, as theosophists, we look at comparative religion, at the higher message being imparted by all the religions of the world, not just the one that we happen to have been affiliated with, because the spark of the divine, the spark of the creator is in everybody, and manifests in many, many different ways. And so we could appreciate the message that comes to the people of Africa, to Native Americans, to Muslims, to Jews, to Christians, to all, and to find the commonality in the higher aspirations of these religious manifestations. Yeah, this is my friend Omnik, and she said in 2008, as our galactic friends often tell us, humanoid ETs are already living among us. They're here for all kinds of reasons. Some are allies for the Galactic Federation and actively working for change on this planet. Others do research, and yet others are here just for the experience. You'd be surprised how many extraterrestrials come to Earth to come here for vacation on their off-duty time. And I write about that in my recent book, one of my recent books called The Real Resident Aliens. Okay, then we have St. Nicholas or Santa Claus. A lot of people think Santa Claus is a myth, but he was a real person. St. Nicholas was born in the year 270 AD, Anno Domini, and died in 343. He was a 4th century saint and a Greek bishop of Myra in a part of Turkey at that time. Because of the many miracles attributed to his intercession, he is also known as Nikolaos, the wonder worker. He had a reputation for secret gift giving, such as putting coins in the shoes of those who left them out for him, and thus became the model for Santa Claus, whose modern name comes from the Dutch Sinterklaas. And then we have the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama. He said, one of the famous quotes from the Buddha is that in the sky, there is no distinction of east or west. People create distinctions out of their own minds and then believe them to be true. So we need to start looking at what we have in common with people instead of what separates us from them, because there's so much that we have to learn. If we don't become cosmic citizens, if we don't become citizens of the planet Earth, and get along with our neighbor, how are we going to fit into a galactic community? So that's the important message. That's probably the most important message of the Buddha. Okay, so I was looking at the Sufi tradition, and at that time in 2013, and I really liked it because it taught me that life on this plane is nothing but an illusion. When we utilize esoteric knowledge, we can part the ethereal veil, and what we shall discover is the existence of a higher dimension, angelic in scope. So the Sufi path helped me to open up the door to alternate realities. Here's a floating city in a perpetual vortex over the South Pole of Venus, an artist's conception of it. So that's my presentation, the first half of this, and then be happy to do the second half in an upcoming episode.
Oh, thank you very much. And at the second episode, we can also ask some questions, because I know that today we simply don't have the time. So thank you very much. I like to call you Dr. Keller, but Ray. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, my dear friend Alfred. And if anybody has any questions, they could send them along to you, and I'll be happy to try and answer them as best I can in any
Yes,
in the forthcoming
it's good.
episode.
And people can always reach us at exopolitics@exopolitics.com. It's very simple. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alfred.